You don't choose the mountains chose you. I never knew that I had the strength, I had the skill set, I had what it took. I felt like this was it. I knew that I don't belong there in the first place. And after that, I felt like it's time for me to move. You've learned from your previous experience and you have prepared yourself well to succeed next year.
This is episode 13 of Dream 100 Show with Naresh Raju. Welcome to the Dream 100 Show, listeners. I'm your host, Savita Hosamane. Each week, we interview today's most successful and inspiring business owners with winning teams who share their exciting business stories of growth with their evolving products or services and built brand loyalty. Join us as we bring you everything that goes on in the minds of successful business owners during their brand building process and gain insights to creating successful strategies. In today's episode, we talk to Naresh Raju, who is the founder of Outdoors Beacon, Mountaineer, and an athlete. He found his calling in the mountains and started his journey of scaling both inner and outer heights. So let's get set to hear it out from him right here, right now. Welcome to Dream 100 Show, Naresh. Super excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I am more excited than you are. I am thrilled to be on this show.
Awesome. We will be drawing parallels between how a business works and how mountaineering works. You are an entrepreneur as well, so you'll be able to relate to few of these aspects as well. Let's start it as a story. When somebody wants to start a business, they have an idea, a business idea, and then the ideation starts from there. So here, how did the ideation for you to get into mountaineering start?
Look, I had no idea that I was going to come down this path. Like a lot of things in life, right? Like you don't choose them, they choose you. Even in a spiritual path, spiritual journey, you don't choose your master chooses you. The same way in mountaineering, there is a saying that you don't choose the mountains chose you. And Savita, even to date, I have no idea why all of this is happening and where I'm headed. I'm just getting goosebumps even now as I'm talking about it. It seems like this is what was supposed to happen. This was my path that I was supposed to take. I'm already getting goosebumps right now. I used to work for a corporate. The first ever Himalayan trek that I went to was to Everest Base Camp. And for a long time, I did not even realize that exactly after 9 months, for no obvious reason, I quit my job. Oh, I can feel that pounding in my heart even now, right now. I had this feeling that it was time for me to move. Nothing was obvious. I didn't know why. I didn't know what I was going to do after. I felt like this was it. I knew that I don't belong there in the first place. And after that, I felt like it's time for me to move. And after a long time, I realized that exactly after 9 months from the trek, I quit my job. So which means I feel like it was symbolic of a new birth, of a new journey, of a new life. And that is how it all started. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, somewhere around 2012, I started to get a very strong calling from the mountains. Anywhere I go, I just see Everest everywhere. And it was a very, very strong inner feeling. I definitely did not understand what was happening at the moment. And for some time, I also ignored, I did not take it seriously. And I was at the back of my head, it was constantly playing like, and there was constant, evidence that anywhere I go, there was some kind of a communication happening to me from the mountains. And then there came a point where I said, enough is enough. I'm going to pursue it. That is how it all got started. And I feel like it is still in the process of getting started. It feels so fresh. It feels like I'm just getting started now.
That's awesome. Again, coming back to a business, see, this usually happens when somebody gets a business idea. So they get super excited about it, and then they start off with the planning stage, and everything
Sure,
goes on to a map. They start writing, okay, this is what. How the product initiation or service, whatever it is, they start
sure,
planning out in phases. Okay, these are the goals that we are going to set, and this is what we are going to achieve, and the execution, the team, everything is laid out. So since you
sure.
say that you didn't have any particular thought,
Superb
then
question.
how did the steps start coming in the process of planning, preparation, and execution?
Superb question. Like many people, I started from ground zero. And the moment I made the decision that I will be pursuing mountaineering, I knew that I have to equip myself with the necessary skills, necessary knowledge, necessary experience for me to do this on a long run. So what I did was I didn't know ABCD of mountaineering. So I took the old school way. I joined a mountaineering course. I looked out for the best of the mountaineering institutes in the country available. And I did my basic mountaineering course. And then later on, I did my advanced mountaineering course. And then I started my mountaineering journey.
Just to gain an insight, like mountaineering course, meaning do they take you to the mountains and actually make you climb?
Absolutely. So this is a 30 days, roughly about 26 to 30 days in-house course. Just like these institutes are run by army personals, the course is divided into two segments: theory and practicals. For the theory part, you will stay within the campus of the institute, which the ratio, if I have to break it down, it's about 40% theory and 60% practicals. They will teach you things in theory, and after that, they will actually take you up to the mountains, the actual mountains, where they will create an opportunity for you to practice everything that you've learned, so that things that you're learning is embedded into your muscle memory in a stronger fashion.
Awesome. Since you were not working also at that time, I'm
Mhm.
sure if you wanted to pursue mountaineering,
Sure.
just like in business, we need an investment. Like after the business
Absolutely.
plan is done,
Mhm.
investors have to come in, or you actually start funding from your own resources. So how
Correct.
did you actually gather the resources when you started off funding? In terms of funding, I'm asking.
Correct. So, in terms of funding, to do my mountaineering courses, luckily these mountaineering courses are at a very subsidized price. It doesn't cost much, maybe about 4,000, 5,000 bucks is what they charge. To do the course, it was easy. That was the easiest part. But mountaineering, as such, is a very, very expensive sport. Everything in mountaineering is expensive, right from your gear to logistics to travel to everything. Because any of all the mountains are in remote locations. For anybody who's traveling from the plane, the expenses begin right from where they are, right from the training, right from the training to nutrition to buying the gears to everything. Especially for Everest, where you need anywhere between 25 to 35 lakhs to climb the mountain. They say the hardest part to climb Everest is mobilizing money. So for me, I have definitely, I'm a hustler by nature. I believe in doing the grind, doing the work. So I pretty soon discovered that trait in me only because of my mountaineering hustle. So I reached out to a lot of people, and I was able to show value and convince a lot of people about what I'm doing and why they must invest into expeditions such as climbing Mount Everest or climbing any of the mountains, so to say. So I was definitely fortunate to be funded by the state government and also many private sponsors.
Wow.
And over and above all of this, I still have to put in a lot of my personal money into the climb.
Okay, so that means that you had the goal of climbing the Everest from day one, or was it an aspirational? So, like, I would just come back to business. See, even in business, people say that I want to earn $1 million or so. They start with small steps. They start with having few small goals. So we make it smart goals. Okay, did you also have these
Sure.
small goals, and then Everest being the top aspiration goal, should I say?
For me, the beginning of my mountaineering aspiration began with Everest. To me, the aspiration of climbing mountains began with Mount Everest. So it's a very mysterious thing. I don't know why, even to the day. So when I started off, for me, I just wanted to climb Mount Everest. In fact, for a very long time, I didn't know the names of many of the mountains. I didn't know the mountain ranges. I didn't know. My knowledge was absolutely limited, very much limited to Mount Everest itself. That is how my personal journey began. And then things started to get expanded to many more things outside of Mount Everest. I think it's a very mysterious plan. I don't even know. I don't understand it even to the date. What is the bigger scheme of things? Maybe Mount Everest was the bait for me to be lured into mountaineering. And then my horizon started to get expanded to many other mountains and many other adventures around mountaineering. For me, it began from Mount Everest. And I thought that it was going to end with Mount Everest, but I've realized that that is not the case.
Awesome. So we know the saying that it is not the mountain that you're conquering, you are conquering your own self. So, what were the
Absolutely.
things that you felt like, as you said, started off with Mount Everest, but you learned a lot about other things. So, in the process, like, what were the learnings that you gathered?
So, mountaineering is an absolute mental game. All the leadership qualities that you could possess and acquire, I personally feel mountaineering is a phenomenal source for you to absolutely acquire and possess those skills. And what I conquered, and I'm still in the process of conquering, is a lot of breaking through a lot of my inner limitations. A lot of things that I've done, I never knew that I had the strength, I had the skill set, I had what it took for me to do a lot of things. If it was not for mountaineering, I don't think I would have realized my potential to achieve a lot of those things. I never, even in my wildest dreams, I never thought that I would sit in front of the Chief Minister of Karnataka and negotiate with him. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that I would be sitting and discussing, making my pitch to the CEOs of multinational companies and the vice presidents, likes of people of that stature. And then every time you break through a limitation, and then you realize that that limitation that you had was nothing more than merely a self-imposed belief. Either you have done it yourself, or you have allowed the society and your surroundings to do it for you. And every time you break through one of those limitations, you suddenly become aware of your potential. Till then, let's say, what was just a knowledge that you have unlimited potential, about persistence, about a lot of those qualities, which was nothing but just a knowledge, to me, started to become my own experience. And then naturally you get into that zone where it is like an absolute trip. If I've done this, what is the next thing? I think that's a very innate human thing, that once you break through a certain limitation, then you become aware of the potential, the vast pool of potential that you have. And by the very nature of things, you want to access them and do more and expand more.
Awesome. So in that case, I come back to business again. So even in business also, like, see, once a team or a business idea is evaluated, they acquire few customers. the first customer is hard to get, and after
Sure.
that they acquire some 10 customers and they would have made a sizable amount of profit. And then what happens is they again reset their goals, because now they
Correct.
start understanding that, hey, we are really capable, this
Sure.
idea is working.
Absolutely.
So then they
Correct.
start expanding their goals, and they start stretching their limits, and they start going beyond it. But at the same time, what happens is there are many unknown factors, because they wouldn't have anticipated competition or
Sure.
natural calamities or
Definitely.
conflicts, or sometimes even we see very beautiful partnerships also breaking. So these are the
Very
kind
true.
of challenges which a growing business will face. So now,
Superb.
coming to mountaineering, when you are also uncovering your potential, I'm sure you would have faced a lot of challenges. See, few challenges are the challenges which come from outside, and there are few internal
Yes.
challenges which goes on within you. Like
Very true.
sometimes you start questioning, is it really worth it? Am I on the right path? Am I doing the right
I
thing?
love this question. I love this question. This is my favorite question. Thank you so much for asking me this question. See, I mean, it is this every single thing that you have said is absolutely true. And it's very, sometimes it is very, all of us know, at least intellectually, we know that life is uncertain. And you have to, we are constantly surrounded and bombarded with uncertainties. It is one thing to know it intellectually. It is a whole different thing when everything comes crashing down on you. Especially, I'm very excited about the fact that you're drawing parallels between business and mountaineering, because the process is the same and what you encounter and endure is the same. Out of nowhere, you're in middle of your business and something crashes. What do? Same way, 2015 and 2016, 2 years, two continuous years. No, I think 2014 and 2015, 2 continuous years, there were natural calamities on Everest. Once the expedition was cancelled because I think 14 or 15, around 14 or 15 Sherpas died in just a matter of 2-3 minutes because of an avalanche. And then the next year, the Everest expedition was cancelled because of an earthquake that hit the mountain. This might be an extreme example, but on a regular basis, let's say even if you're not hit by an avalanche or if you're not hit by an earthquake, every single expedition you are dependent on so many factors that you are not in control of. The weather window. If it snows, if the weather turns bad continuously for 2-3 days, for let's say an X number of days, then your expedition is cancelled, right? And there's definitely, undoubtedly, you go through a lot of disappointment in that moment. And also, what I feel, Savita, is that these challenges, just like in business, all these challenges will expose yourself to yourself. Whoever you think you are, or whatever you think you are, your true self will be exposed during these challenges. You know, when these challenges, for example, even to 2015, when the earthquake hit Nepal and in the base camp, it was an absolute maddening devastation. And you could see there were only a handful of people who went down to the site of disaster and put in some work into the rescue operation. And the majority of them were upset, were disappointed, were scared. And I can understand why. But still, it really, whoever you think you are, these challenges is what will expose you. It will expose you to yourself. And then the attitude of winners is the defining factor. The attitude of the winners is, I will get it done no matter what. If not this year, next year. If not next year, the year after. And there has been numerous stories of successful entrepreneurs. It took them decades for them to become successful, right? And the only reason why they are at the pinnacle of their success is because they kept at it over and over and over again, in spite of all the failures, in spite of all the setbacks, in spite of all the challenges. They kept at it. They learned from their previous experiences. They understood how to prepare. For example, you go on a climb and you had, let's say, you had given yourself, just to give you an example, 7 days to climb a mountain, and then the weather turned bad in those. You had to cancel the expedition because the weather turned bad for two continuous days, and you did not have enough time. So what do? You learn from that, and next time, give yourself more time. Plan your expedition not for 7 days, but for 10 days. You could still finish the expedition in 6 days, but you've learned from your previous experience and you have prepared yourself well to succeed next year. This applies to everything. This applies to your fitness. This applies to your mindset. This applies to everything. Like you rightly said that, sometimes you have inner breakdowns. What do you do about them? You can't do anything about them in the moment. You've broken down. You've got to accept that even if you give up sometimes, it's okay. It is okay if you realize that you gave up, and do you come back, you analyze, why did you give up? Was it, did you have to put in, did you give up mentally, or did you give up physically? And once you're honest about these things, you come back and you work on it. You get mentally tough, you get physically tough, and then you go back and you are in a better position to succeed the next year.
Great. Like as you said, there is a lot of uncertainty. Now, again, coming back to business. See,
Sure.
even in business also, as one business starts scaling up and growing, once they want to scale up to a very bigger extent, that is when investors come in. When
Sure.
investors come in, they also take a portion of the equity because they see
Sure.
that, okay, this is a winning horse, so they are willing to bet on it. But
Correct.
when it comes to mountaineering, like as you said, in case of a natural calamity, God forbid, whoever has gone up, in case they don't come back, something like that happens. So then, don't you think so? If sponsors have to bet on mountaineers, I'm speaking from the point of view of
Very true. I get it.
sponsors and mountaineers,
Sure.
because at the end of the day, an investor is always thinking about his profit. What is he going
Sure.
to get out of it?
Definitely.
What is the ROI, if at all I invest on this particular sport or activity, however passionate he is?
Sure.
Like he will be having an eye on his money at the end of the day.
Definitely.
So, what is the ROI which sponsors can get by investing on mountaineers?
Superb. So I want to begin by saying that every investment is risky. They know, they're absolutely aware that there is a certain amount of risk in their investment. And I love the way you said everybody wants to bet on the winning horses. And this has been my experience till now, that anybody who wants to put their money down, if they have to part with their money, it must move them from inside. And from my experience, what I have understood is they are always investing on, just like in business, more than on the idea, they invest on the business owner. They know that this person has the capacity. Everybody knows that it's not a straight line. Everybody knows, like even when you're climbing a mountain, it's not a flat road. There are valleys, there are steep ascents, there are peaks, and then there are rocks, there is water. Anybody who's investing, they know that all of this is there. And what they purely are testing, a wise investor, is that if this guy has the capacity to do it. And then they invest in you primarily. That is the fundamental thing. And in terms of ROI, oh my God, this is a massive, massive opportunity, because this will create immense marketing opportunities for, both products and services, depending upon the products and services, for the simple fact that you can generate tons and tons of content and real life stories. Now, in the current situation where social media is dominating the marketing space, it's a huge opportunity, because eventually your customers will be able to relate to things better for the simple fact that it's real. it is not something that is staged. It is not something that is staged. So real stories, real people, audience are always connecting better. And that is why biggest of the companies are shifting their marketing budgets towards social media. They are chasing social media influencers, so on and so forth. So in terms of ROI, this is just an absolutely tremendous medium to do a lot of marketing campaigns speared through social media content and basically storytelling, real life storytelling.
Okay, let's talk about your recent summit which you had done. From what I
Mm.
understand from your story is that when you started off, you didn't have any exposure regarding the kind of mountain terrain and the kind of
Yeah.
challenges that you would be facing and
Mm.
all that. So, but gradually you started
Yes.
climbing up one after the other. So,
Correct.
give us an insight about what are the heights which you have scaled so far.
I've climbed a couple of mountains, and this time I hit some 6,000 meter peaks. I
Mm-hmm.
think, like I said initially, the when I started to climb Everest, I thought Everest was the goal, and then maybe it was Everest's way of teaching me a lesson and preparing me for maybe a bigger goal, for a bigger vision. So this time, this season that I went, I climbed two 6,000 meter peaks. I attempted four peaks. I attempted four 6,000 meter peaks. I was able to successfully climb two peaks. In one of the peak, the weather went bad, and in another peak, I got exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
So I've
Okay.
successfully climbed two 6,000 meter peaks this season.
So now, yeah, again, you come back, you prepare yourself, and then you want to go back to the mountains
I
again.
am correct. Beginning my training from tomorrow.
So, what is
Came
your
back yesterday, and I'm ready. I'm ready for tomorrow.
all right? Awesome. So, in that case, what is your next goal? Or since you said 6,000 meters, so next, what are you aiming at?
Next, what I'm aiming at is to climb a 7,000 meter peak. So this peak is called Himlung Himal. This peak is in Nepal, and I think in about a month's time, less than a month, by maybe around October 10th, I would start my journey to Nepal. Make an attempt, take a shot at the 7,000 meter peak this season. Jan, I might go and climb the highest peak of South America, which is called Aconcagua. And that is also the highest peak in the world outside of Himalayas.
So, what
And
is
then
the height of Himalayas and what is the height of that peak?
the height of Aconcagua is about 6,900. It's almost about 7,000 meters.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Himalayas, Everest is the highest peak. There are about 14 highest peaks in the world, and these all of these 14 peaks are above 8,000 meters, and all these peaks are in the Himalayas.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of Himalaya, this is the highest peak. That
Mm-hmm.
is my plan for Jan, and then in April and May, I'm going to make my attempt to the mighty Mount Everest.
Mm-hmm. So, wishing you all the best for your Everest climb
Awesome.
and for all your forthcoming climbs. On that note, before we end, I would like to have just one question.
Please.
Uh, so, there is no end for scaling up the mountains. So, what you
Sure.
climb one and then you say, I finished 6,000, 7,000, and then you say, I've covered all the 14. So, how long will this go on? Like, even coming back to business, because even in business, we have something called as the exit route. So, what is the exit route for a mountaineer?
I don't think there is an exit route. Just like any real entrepreneur will never stop. They will, just like how they exit from one business and they move to another, they start, something new. It's the same thing for a passionate mountaineer. And even if they climb all their life, they will not be able to remotely cover a tiny portion of the mountains that are there in the world. Forget about the world, even Himalayas itself, because it's 2,500 kilometers in length. So there are tens of thousands of mountain peaks just in
Awesome.
Himalayas. So I think I will keep climbing for the rest of my life until the time mountains keep showering its blessings on me. I'm heading down that path for the rest of my life.
Okay, wishing you all the best. It is said that the best view comes after the hardest climb. So, wishing you
Yes.
awesome views ahead.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much. Thank you.
I thank Naresh Raju from the bottom of my heart for his valuable insights and taking out time for our listeners. Here are my few takeaways from this amazing conversation. First and foremost, pursue what you feel strongly from within. That might be your inner calling. You never know. Listen to your inner voice always. Secondly, knowledge becomes an experience when you start breaking your limitations, which you have set for your own self. That is when you start realizing your hidden potential. Thirdly, challenges expose you to yourself. Last but not the least, learn from previous experiences and prepare for next challenges. Never lose out on an opportunity to learn from the life lessons of real-time business owners on Dream 100 Show. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Dream 100 Show, and now make a smart decision of taking the next step towards your dreams. We strongly believe that life is just a play. We win some, we lose some, we miss some, and we mess with some. So enjoy your journey and play it to the fullest. Don't forget to subscribe to Dream 100 Show and leave a review on Apple Podcast. Share your biggest takeaways with us and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. This is Savita signing off, and catch you soon in our next episode.